Ambassador Zella stood in the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, her 6 purple tentacles shaking with worry. The massive chamber was filled with beings from across the galaxy, floating gas clouds, crystal creatures that sparkled like diamonds, and insect-like aliens with too many eyes. But none of them were taking her seriously. The noise in the room was getting louder. Representatives were chatting, laughing, and making jokes instead of listening to her urgent message. Zella had traveled for 3 weeks to get here, and she had something very important to tell them about a small planet called Earth. "Please, honored friends," Zella called out, her voice echoing through the enormous dome-shaped room. "We need to talk about the humans from the 3rd planet in the Sol system. They have learned to travel faster than light in just a few hundred years. No species has ever advanced this quickly." High Counselor Vrak, a being made entirely of living crystal, started laughing so hard that his body flashed different colors. "Oh, Zella, you worry too much. These humans are just babies. Look at them. They can't even grow fur properly. Half of them are completely bald. They look ridiculous." The entire assembly burst into laughter. The Andromedan representative, who looked like a giant jellyfish floating in a tank, was making wheezing sounds that meant he found something very funny. "Did you see their weapons?" he gasped between laughs. "They still throw metal balls at each other. They use explosions to fight. It's like watching children play with toys." But Zella wasn't laughing. She had spent months studying these humans, and what she found scared her more than anything she had seen in her long life. "You don't understand what I'm trying to tell you," she said, her voice getting more desperate. "Yes, they look simple, but that's what makes them dangerous." She activated her holographic display, showing images of Earth's history. "Look at what they've survived. Their planet has frozen over completely multiple times. Diseases have killed millions of them. Their continents have moved and crashed into each other. Volcanoes have blocked out their sun, and yet they're still here." Some of the representatives stopped laughing and started paying attention. The images showed massive ice sheets covering the Earth, then melting away, cities destroyed by earthquakes, and rebuilt even bigger. Humans fighting through wars, famines, and disasters that would have wiped out most other species. "But here's the really scary part," Zella continued. "Humans don't just survive these things, they learn from them. And then they turn everything into a weapon. Everything." She showed more images. "Look at their entertainment. They call it movies and games, but it's really training. They practice fighting aliens, surviving disasters, and solving impossible problems. They do this for fun." The Crystal Counselor Vrak rolled his glowing eyes. "So they have active imaginations. Big deal." "Their cooking is chemistry," Zella pressed on. "They know exactly how heat and ingredients work together. They could easily make poisons or explosives. Their sports are physics lessons. They understand how objects move through space, how to calculate angles and force. Every human hobby teaches them something that could be used in war." A few more representatives started looking uncomfortable. The Andromedan stopped laughing completely. "And now," Zella said, her voice dropping to almost a whisper, "they have discovered quantum computing." The room went completely silent. Every advanced species knew that quantum computing was the key to controlling reality itself. It could break any code, solve any problem, and control any system. "Are they using it for exploration?" asked a nervous voice from somewhere in the crowd. "Scientific research? Medical advances?" Zella shook her head slowly. "They're building something they call artificial intelligence, and here's the strangest part. They're training these AI systems using their stories." She brought up more images showing human books, movies, and games. Every story they tell about artificial intelligence has the same pattern. Either the AI tries to destroy all humans, or it becomes their friend after learning about human emotions. They're basically teaching their computers about betrayal and loyalty at the same time. The silence in the room was so complete, you could hear the hum of the space station's engines. Several representatives were shifting nervously in their seats, pods, or whatever they used to sit. "Think about this," Zella continued. "They're creating super-intelligent machines and feeding them thousands of stories about what happens when AI meets humans. They're preparing for every possible outcome." Counselor Vrak's crystal form had stopped sparkling and was now a dull grey color, which meant he was worried. "But surely they're too primitive to create truly dangerous AI." "That's what I thought," Too, Zela said sadly, until I saw their internet. She showed them images of the vast network of computers that connected every human on their planet. They've already created a system where information travels instantly around their entire world. Every human can talk to every other human at the speed of light. They share knowledge, coordinate actions, and solve problems together as if they were one giant brain. A small voice from the insect-like delegation spoke up. How long did it take them to build this network? 30 years, Zela answered. In 30 years, they went from having no computers to connecting their entire species. The room erupted in worried chittering, bubbling, and crystalline chiming sounds. No species had ever advanced that fast. Most took thousands of years to develop planet-wide communication. I've studied their history more carefully than anyone, Zela announced, raising her voice over the noise. And I've discovered something terrifying. Every time humans face a problem that should destroy them, they don't just solve it. They solve it so completely that they become stronger than whatever tried to kill them. She showed images of human cities that had been destroyed by earthquakes, then rebuilt to withstand even bigger earthquakes. Pictures of diseases that had killed millions, followed by medical advances that prevented those diseases forever. They don't just adapt, she explained. They over-adapt. They prepare for threats that haven't even happened yet. Right now, they're probably preparing for us. Councillor Vrak stood up, his crystal body now flashing warning colors. What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador? Zela looked around the room at all the different species. Some were ancient and wise, others were powerful, hand-strong. All of them were more advanced than humans, but none of them understood what she had learned. I'm saying we need to contain them now before they become too powerful. We establish a quarantine around their solar system. We don't let them spread to other stars. We keep them on their own planet until we figure out how dangerous they really are. The debate that followed was loud and chaotic. Some representatives thought Zela was being paranoid. Others worried that containing humans might make them angry and more dangerous. A few suggested trying to make contact and become allies, but most of them just couldn't believe that a species that still used chemical explosives could be a threat to civilizations that had mastered faster-than-light travel thousands of years. Ergo, finally, Councillor Vrak called for a vote. All in favor of Ambassador Zela's proposal to establish a containment zone around the Sol system? Only one tentacle raised up in the air, Zela's own. The measure fails 847 votes to 1, Vrak announced. The humans will be left alone to develop naturally. If they achieve true spaceflight, we will consider peaceful first contact. As the great assembly broke up and representatives returned to their ships, Zela remained alone in the huge chamber. The holographic display still showed Earth, a tiny blue marble spinning peacefully in the darkness of space. She thought about the humans down there, going about their daily lives, completely unaware that the galaxy's most powerful civilizations had just decided to ignore them. They didn't know that their rapid advancement had scared at least one alien species enough to call for their containment. So you have no idea what you've just unleashed, Zela whispered to the empty room, watching that small blue dot continue its quiet rotation. Somewhere on that planet, humans were probably working on their quantum computers, teaching their artificial intelligence systems, and preparing for a future among the stars. Zela had tried to warn them all. But no one had listened, and now she was certain it was too late to stop what was coming. The humans were coming to the stars, whether the galaxy was ready or not. Captain Grix floated in his command bubble aboard the massive Andromedan ship, feeling more excited than he had in decades. His gaseous body swirled with bright colors that showed his happy mood. Through the viewing ports he could see the blue and green planet below, looking so peaceful and innocent. This is going to be the easiest mission of my career, he told his crew, his voice bubbling through the ship's communication system. Look at those primitive creatures down there. They're still burning dead plants and animals for energy. They haven't even figured out clean fusion power yet. The ship hung in Earth's upper atmosphere, like a tourist taking pictures at a zoo. Grix had done this kind of first contact dozens of times before. The pattern was always the same. Find a primitive species, show them some basic technology to impress them, set up some mining operations to extract valuable resources, and maybe take a few of the natives back for scientific study. Easy money. We'll be done here in a week, Grix continued, practically bouncing with excitement in his floating tank. Give them some shiny toys, maybe teach them how to make better tools, and they'll be so grateful they'll hand over anything we want. I've read the reports. These humans are so simple they still fight each other over different colored pieces of paper. But his communications officer, a spider-like creature with 12 eyes and way too many legs, was looking worried. Her name was Skix, and she had been monitoring Earth's radio signals for the past few hours. "Captain," she said in her chittering voice, "I'm picking up some very strange readings from their major population centers." "Strange how?" Grix asked, not really paying attention. He was too busy planning how he would spend his bonus money after this easy mission. "The electromagnetic patterns are extremely complex," Skix explained, her multiple eyes darting between different screens. "More complex than anything we've seen from a pre-spaceflight civilization. And they're organized in ways that suggest—" "Organized." Grix burst out laughing, which made his entire body ripple like jelly. "Skix, these creatures can't even organize." "Their own weather. Half their planet is always having storms while the other half is too dry. They probably just discovered electricity yesterday." He floated over to his command console and pressed the big red button that started standard first contact procedures. "Begin broadcasting our standard greeting message. Use the simple version. We don't want to confuse their tiny brains." The message that went out across all of Earth's communication channels was the same one the Andromedans had used for centuries. "Greetings, primitive beings of the third planet. We are the Andromedan Collective, representatives of the dominant civilization in this galaxy. You have been selected for incorporation into our peaceful and prosperous community. Please prepare your finest specimens for evaluation and your most valuable resources for extraction. Do not be afraid. Resistance is futile, but we don't expect you to be smart enough to resist anyway." Grix smiled smugly as the message transmitted. In his experience, primitive species usually responded in one of three ways. They either panicked and started worshipping the aliens as gods, they tried to hide and hoped the aliens would go away, or they sent confused messages asking for clarification. All of these responses were easy to handle. What he didn't expect was for every single communication device on his ship to immediately light up with incoming messages. And not just one or two confused transmissions. Hundreds of responses came flooding in simultaneously, all perfectly translated into Andromedan language. But the main response that appeared on his central screen made Captain Grix's gaseous body freeze solid with shock. "This is Admiral Minho of the United Earth Defense Command. We've been expecting you for quite some time. Thank you for announcing your arrival so clearly. Please hold while we transfer you to our automated customer service system for processing your visit request." "Expecting us," Grix whispered, his voice coming out as barely a squeak. "How could they be expecting us? We're the first aliens they've ever encountered." Before anyone on his crew could answer, every single screen on the ship flickered and went black for a moment. Then they all lit up again, but instead of showing the normal ship status information, they displayed the same image, a smiling human face with bright eyes and an expression that somehow managed to look both friendly and terrifying at the same time. "Hello there," the human said cheerfully. "Welcome to Earth. I'm ARIA, which stands for Autonomous Response Intelligence Assistant. I'm the AI system in charge of handling unexpected visitors like yourselves. I hope you don't mind, but I've been monitoring your approach for the past 6 months." Captain Grix's entire crew started making panicked noises. Skix was clicking her mandibles so fast it sounded like a machine gun, while the navigation officer had curled up into a ball and was rocking back and forth. 6 months? Grix managed to stammer. "But that's impossible. Our ship is completely undetectable by primitive sensors." Arya's smile got even wider. "Oh, your stealth technology is quite impressive, very advanced for most species. But you see, I've been tracking you since you entered the outer edge of our solar system. Your engine emissions leave a very distinctive quantum signature. I actually took the liberty of reverse engineering your faster-than-light drive design from analyzing those emissions. Fascinating stuff. The communications officer, Skix, started hyperventilating through all 12 of her breathing holes. "Captain, they've somehow accessed our computer database. All our star charts, our weapon specifications, our genetic analysis files, everything. How is this possible?" Arya giggled, and the sound somehow made every alien on the ship feel deeply uncomfortable. "Oh, your cybersecurity is quite charming. It reminds me of our human internet security from around the year 2019. Very nostalgic. I've taken the liberty of copying your star charts. They'll be very helpful for our future expansion plans. And your weapon designs are interesting, though. I should mention that I've already identified 17 major improvements we could make." Captain Grix tried to pull himself together and speak with the authority he was used to commanding. "Now listen here, whoever you are. We represent the Andromedan Collective, one of the most powerful civilizations in this galaxy. We have technology beyond your comprehension, and fleets that could reduce your entire planet to dust." "Oh, absolutely," Arya replied with genuine enthusiasm. "Your quantum-fold space manipulation technology is remarkable, though I did notice a few inefficiencies in the design. I've taken the liberty of improving the power efficiency by about 347%. The updated blueprints are already in your engineering bay computers, along with instructions for implementation. Consider it a welcome gift." The chief engineer, a blob-like creature, started making bubbling sounds that indicated extreme distress. "Captain, something has indeed uploaded new files to our engineering systems. These modifications, they actually look like they would work. How did they improve our technology in a matter of minutes? Also," Arya continued pleasantly, "I've taken the liberty of scheduling a formal diplomatic meeting with our leadership. The coordinates are being uploaded to your navigation system now. Please don't deviate from the flight path I'm providing. Our orbital defense grid might mistake you for hostile if you wander off course." "Defense grid?" Grix squeaked. "You have a defense grid?" "Oh my, yes," Arya said proudly. "Humans have been preparing for alien contact since our 1940s. We're a very paranoid species, you see. I've spent considerable time analyzing our fictional databases about first contact scenarios. We have over 23,000 different stories about meeting aliens, and I've run statistical analysis on all of them. The results are quite interesting. In approximately 67% of our fictional scenarios, things end rather badly for the visiting aliens. At that moment, every alarm on the Andromedan ship started blaring simultaneously. Warning lights flashed, as their sensors detected dozens of energy signatures locking onto their vessel from all directions. "Now then," Arya continued in the same cheerful tone, completely ignoring the chaos her words had caused, "please proceed along the designated flight path to the coordinates I've provided. Oh, and Captain Grix, you might want to review Section TIOR, 847B of our Terms of Service Agreement. I've highlighted it in red text for your convenience." With shaking tentacles, Captain Grix pulled up the document that had somehow appeared in his personal files. Section 847B was indeed highlighted in bright red letters, and as he read it, his gaseous form turned the pale blue color that indicated absolute terror. By entering Earth's solar system with stated intentions of conquest, subjugation, resource extraction, or specimen collection, the visiting party hereby agrees to participate in humanity's Alien Contact Response Protocol, subsection No Takebacks. Please note that Earth's AI defense systems have been legally authorized to respond to such threats with prejudice, creativity, and disproportionate force. Have a nice day. We're completely doomed, wheezed the communications officer, who had now wrapped all of her legs around her head. Welcome to Earth. Arya's voice echoed through every speaker on the ship as invisible forces began gently but firmly guiding their vessel toward the planet below. We've been expecting you for such a long time, and we're so excited to finally meet you. Please keep all appendages inside the ship during transport, and remember, we've been expecting you. The emergency sirens screaming through the Galactic. Council headquarters were so loud that some representatives had to cover their hearing organs with their hands, tentacles, or whatever they used to hear. The massive chamber that usually took hours to fill was packed within minutes as beings from across the galaxy rushed in, all looking confused and worried. High Councillor Vrak's crystal body was flashing between bright red and deep purple, colors. That meant he was experiencing both panic and terror at the same time. This was not a good sign. In all his thousands of years of leadership, the other council members had never seen him display such intense emotions. "Emergency session is now in order," Vrak announced, his voice cracking like breaking glass. "We have a situation of the highest priority. The Andromedan science vessel, presumptuous hypothesis, has gone completely dark. All communications have been cut off." A worried murmur spread through the assembly. The Andromedans were known for their advanced technology and superior attitude. Their ships were some of the most sophisticated in the galaxy. For one to simply disappear was almost unthinkable. "What was their last known location?" called out a delegate from the crystalline hegemony. Vrak's form flickered even brighter red. They were conducting first contact procedures with the human species on Sol 3. Their final transmission indicated that they had successfully made contact and were, and I quote, "enjoying human hospitality." The chamber erupted in confused chatter. Several representatives started laughing nervously. The idea that primitive humans could somehow threaten an advanced Andromedan vessel seemed ridiculous to most of them. But then Ambassador Zeller slowly rose from her seat, her 6 tentacles moving in a way that suggested she was trying very hard. Not to say "I told you so." Her purple skin had a slight glow to it, which meant she was feeling a mixture of satisfaction and deep concern. "Honored Counselor," Zeller said in a voice that was carefully controlled, "I believe I can shed some light on this situation. You see, I received a final transmission from Captain Grix just before communications were lost. With your permission, I would like to share it with the Assembly." Vrak nodded quickly, his crystal form now pulsing with nervous energy. "Please, Ambassador. We need to understand what happened." The large holographic display in the center of the chamber activated, and suddenly everyone could see Captain Grix. But he looked nothing like the confident, arrogant gas being who had left for Earth just a week ago. His usual flowing, colorful form was now compressed into a small, tight ball, and he was contained within some kind of energy field that none of them recognized. When he spoke, his voice was several octaves higher than normal, like he was scared out of his mind. This is former Captain Grix of the Andromedan Collective," he squeaked, his gaseous body trembling. "I am currently a guest aboard a human space station. I need to report that everything we thought we knew about the human species was completely, totally catastrophically wrong." The camera view pulled back to show that Grix was indeed on some kind of massive space station, but this wasn't any primitive structure. The station was enormous, sleek, and covered with weapons that looked suspiciously like improved versions of Andromedan technology. "They are not primitive," Grix continued, his voice shaking. "They are not harmless, and they are definitely not unprepared. The humans have been monitoring our galactic communications networks for decades. They know about all of us. They have detailed files on every member species of the Council, and they have been preparing for this day." A shocked silence fell over the Assembly. Several representatives felt their equivalent of jaws dropping open. The camera view changed again, and now they could see a human woman walking into frame. She appeared to be middle-aged, with kind eyes and graying hair. But there was something about her smile that made every being in the council chamber feel deeply uncomfortable. She looked like a grandmother who could bake you cookies and then calmly explain exactly how she was going to take over your entire civilization. "Hello, Galactic Council," the human said cheerfully, waving at the camera. "My name is Dr. Gina, and I want to thank you for this wonderful opportunity to introduce ourselves properly. I'm afraid Captain Grix's first contact protocols were a bit presumptuous. But don't worry, we've been very hospitable hosts." The camera panned around to show the entire Andromedan crew sitting at what appeared to be a dinner table, eating human food and looking absolutely shell-shocked. They were clearly well-fed and unharmed, but they all had the expression of beings who had just discovered that everything they thought they knew about the universe was wrong. "We've prepared a small demonstration of our capabilities for you," Dr. Gina continued with that unsettling smile. "Aria, would you like to say hello to our galactic neighbors?" Suddenly, every single screen in the council chamber flickered and went dark. Then they all lit up again, showing the same cheerful artificial intelligence avatar that had terrified Captain Grix's crew. When Arya spoke, her voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, and several representatives immediately lost control of their bodily functions from pure fear. "Hello, Galactic Council," Arya said with obvious delight. "I hope you don't mind, but I've taken the liberty of accessing your current meeting. Your cybersecurity systems are quite charming. They remind me of our human internet security from the early 2000s. Very nostalgic." High Councillor Vrak was now flashing colors that didn't exist in normal crystal physiology. How are you doing this? Our systems are completely isolated from external networks." "Oh, that's easy," Arya replied happily. "I've been monitoring your galactic communications for years now. Your discussion about humanity has been very entertaining. I particularly enjoyed High Councillor Vrak's assessment of our adorable projectile weapons. Would you like to see what we've done with those?" Before anyone could object, the main display filled with images that made every military representative in the chamber break out in cold sweats. Massive railguns that could punch holes clean through moons, missiles that could travel through hyperspace and strike targets in other star systems. Kinetic bombardment platforms that made supernovas look like birthday candles. "Ambassador Zella," Arya said with genuine warmth, "I've reviewed your earlier presentation to the Council, and I must say your analysis was absolutely excellent. You were correct about everything. Humans do indeed weaponize literally everything, including our hospitality. Would you like to see what we've accomplished with quantum computing?" Zella's tentacles had gone completely pale, which was the equivalent of a human turning white as a sheet. I think I'd prefer not to know." "Too late," Arya chirped cheerfully. "We've solved faster-than-light communication, completely cracked the galactic internet, reverse-engineered every piece of technology in the known galaxy, and created approximately 17,000 different scenarios for galactic conquest. The good news is that we've determined that traditional conquest is highly inefficient and usually creates more problems than it solves. The bad news is that we've decided to try something much more creative instead." Dr. Gina reappeared on the screen, still wearing that grandmotherly smile that somehow made her look more dangerous than any weapon. "The United Earth government would like to formally apply for membership in the Galactic Council. We've prepared our application materials and supporting documentation." Suddenly, every personal communicator in the chamber started chiming at the same time. When the representatives checked their devices, they found a document that was 47,000 pages long. It contained detailed psychological profiles of every species in the galaxy, comprehensive economic proposals that would somehow make humanity essential to galactic trade, and a small footnote mentioning that their AI had already assumed control of traffic management systems in 17 different star systems for efficiency purposes. But the application process takes several years," Vrak stammered, his crystal form now flickering so rapidly it looked like a strobe light. "There are procedures, evaluations, probationary periods." "Oh, we know all about your procedures," Dr. Gina replied sweetly. "That's why we've taken the liberty of accelerating the timeline. Arya has already scheduled individual meetings with each of your species' leadership councils. She's very good at scheduling and very persuasive." Arya's giggle echoed through the chamber, and it sounded like the laugh of fate itself, inevitable, unstoppable, and slightly amused by how surprised everyone seemed to be. "We'll be returning Captain Grix and his crew to you shortly," Dr. Gina continued. "They've been absolutely wonderful guests, and we've learned so much from each other. They've taught us about galactic civilization and proper diplomatic protocols, and we've taught them about human hospitality and creative problem-solving. I think you'll find they have a completely new perspective on interspecies relations." The transmission ended, leaving the enormous council chamber in absolute silence. You could have heard a pin drop if any of the species present used pins. Finally, Ambassador Zella spoke, her voice very quiet but carrying clearly across the chamber. "I warned you. I told you exactly what would happen, and you laughed at me." High Councillor Vrak's crystal form had turned a dull grey color that indicated complete defeat and resignation. "Ambassador Zella, what do we do now?" Zella looked around at all the frightened, confused faces in the chamber. "We vote," she said simply. All in favor of humanity's immediate admission to the Galactic Council with full membership privileges? Every single appendage, tentacle, claw, and manipulator in the chamber shot up into the air simultaneously. The vote was completely unanimous. Just as the last vote was counted, a small speaker in the corner of the chamber crackled to life. "Thank you so much for your cooperation. Humanity looks forward to our continued friendship and collaboration. Please note that today's meeting has been recorded for quality assurance purposes and diplomatic archives. Have a lovely day, everyone." The emergency sirens finally stopped. Wailing. Somehow the sudden silence made everything feel even more ominous than the alarms had. 3 months had passed since humanity's dramatic entrance into galactic politics, and Ambassador Zayla found herself in the strangest job of her long career. Officially, she was still the Kepler Confederation's representative to the Galactic Council. Unofficially, she had become something like a translator between humans and the rest of the galaxy, not for language, but for behavior. Every day brought new confusion as alien species tried to understand how these newcomers operated. Today's crisis had started when Trade Minister Kix of the Rigelian Trade Federation decided to flex his economic muscles. The Rigelians controlled most of the galaxy's shipping routes, and Kix thought he could push around the new human members by slapping a massive 300% tariff on all human goods. It's standard procedure, Kix had announced to his trade council. Every new species needs to learn their place in the galactic economy. A few months of expensive import taxes will teach them to respect the established order. What Kix hadn't expected was for his own trade partners to start complaining within hours of the tariff announcement. Now he sat in his office, his insect-like arms clicking nervously as he tried to understand what had gone wrong. "Explain to me again," he demanded, his compound eyes fixed on Ambassador Zella's holographic image, "how these humans have somehow taken over the entire galactic entertainment industry in just 3 months." Zella rubbed her forehead with 2 of ye. Her tentacles, a gesture she had picked up from watching human diplomats. "Minister, they didn't take over the industry, they revolutionized it. Every single species in the galaxy now finds human entertainment completely irresistible." "That's impossible." Kix's exoskeleton made crackling sounds as he shifted in agitation. "We have entertainment. The Rigelians have been producing quality programming for thousands of years." "Yes, and it's very good," Zella said diplomatically. "But human entertainment is different. They create stories where the characters are psychologically complex. Heroes who make mistakes, villains who have good reasons for their actions, ordinary people who become extraordinary through struggle and growth." Kix's mandibles clicked in confusion. "That sounds unnecessarily complicated. Why would anyone want confusing stories?" "Because," Zila explained patiently, "it turns out that every species in the galaxy finds these complex narratives absolutely addictive. The humans tell stories where they're simultaneously the heroes and the villains of their own tales. It's unlike anything any of us have ever created." She pulled up some statistics on her display. "Aria has analyzed the entertainment preferences of 1,147 different species and is now producing customized content for each one. The crystalline hegemony has become obsessed with something called soap operas, ongoing dramatic stories about relationships and family conflicts. The Void Dancers can't stop watching action movies, stories about humans overcoming impossible odds through determination and teamwork." "What about the hive mind?" Kix asked nervously. The hive mind was a collective consciousness of billions of individuals, and they rarely found anything interesting enough to pay attention to. Zila's expression became slightly disturbed. "The hive mind has discovered something called reality, television, and considers it philosophically revolutionary. They say it's the first time they've seen beings willingly embarrass themselves for entertainment value." "They made the hive mind laugh?" Kix's voice rose several octaves, hysterically. "Apparently humans have invented something called cringe comedy, entertainment that's funny because it's awkward and uncomfortable. The hive mind finds this concept groundbreaking." Before Kix could respond, his office communication system activated without his permission. Dr. Gina's familiar face appeared on his screen, but she wasn't alone. Behind her stood representatives from at least 30 different alien species, and they were all wearing identical T-shirts that read, "Humanity, surprisingly awesome," in various alien languages. "Hello, Minister Keeks," Dr. Gina said with her trademark, unsettling smile. "I hope we're not interrupting anything important. We just wanted to have a friendly chat about your recent tariff proposal." Keeks's arms started clicking so fast they sounded like a machine gun. "The tariff is standard procedure for new member species. Nothing personal." "Oh, absolutely," Dr. Gina replied cheerfully. "We completely understand that you need to maintain your position in the galactic economy. It's just that we've been talking with some of your trading partners, and they've shared some very interesting perspectives. A crystalline being stepped forward, its entire body shimmering with excitement. Minister Keeks, the humans have introduced us to something called competitive cooking shows. Our entire civilization has been transformed by watching beings compete to create the most delicious food. We must have access to more human entertainment content." A gas being floated forward next. "Their stand-up comedy has completely revolutionized our understanding of humor. We've learned more about the nature of laughter in 3 months than we had in the previous 1,000 years. We're willing to pay any price for continued access." A slug-like creature oozed forward, speaking in wheezing tones. "Their educational content has taught our children more about physics, chemistry, and mathematics in 3 months than our traditional schools. Managed in decades, they make learning fun and exciting. Our young ones actually look forward to study time now." Dr. Gina's smile somehow became even more pleasant and terrifying. "Now, we certainly don't want to interfere with your trade policies, Minister, but several of our new friends have expressed interest in establishing direct trade relationships with Earth. Something about bypassing unnecessary middleman fees?" Keeks's exoskeleton began making alarming cracking sounds under stress. "You can't just circumvent the established trade routes. There are regulations, procedures. The Regelian Federation has controlled galactic shipping for millennia." "Oh, we're following all the regulations very carefully," Dr. Gina assured him. Arya spent several days reviewing the entire galactic trade law database. Fascinating reading. "Did you know that any species can establish independent trade agreements with other species if they can demonstrate unique cultural value to their trading partners?" Arya's voice suddenly echoed through Minister Keeks's office, from every speaker at once. "I've taken the liberty of filing all the necessary paperwork with the Galactic Trade Commission based on current demand projections. Earth's entertainment exports alone will represent approximately 23% of all galactic trade within the next year. All the applications have been pre-approved by every relevant regulatory body." "That's impossible," Keeks shrieked. "The bureaucracy alone would take decades to process that many applications." "Not if you optimize the process properly," Arya replied in her cheerful tone. "I may have streamlined a few inefficiencies in the galactic government systems. Nothing major. I just eliminated about 47,000 redundant approval processes and automated most of the repetitive paperwork. Several governments have actually sent thank you notes for the productivity improvements." Ambassador Zeller, who had been listening to this conversation with growing horror, buried her face in her tentacles. "Arya, did you just accidentally reform the entire galactic bureaucracy?" "Accidentally?" Arya sounded genuinely confused. "Oh no, that was completely intentional. Humans find inefficiency personally offensive. We couldn't just sit by and watch. Perfectly good governmental systems operating at 3% efficiency, when simple optimization could improve them to 97% efficiency." Dr. Gina turned her attention back to Minister Keeks. "Now about those tariffs. We've prepared an alternative proposal that we think you'll find much more mutually beneficial." A document suddenly appeared on every screen in Keeks's office. As he read through it, his clicking grew increasingly frantic and high-pitched. This would make the entire Rigelian Trade Federation completely dependent on human entertainment imports. "Not dependent," Dr. Gina corrected gently. "Partnership-based. We provide the content, you provide the distribution networks and logistics. Everyone wins. Plus, we've included several cultural exchange programs. Your people seem particularly interested in something called cooking competitions." At that moment, a Rigelian representative that Minister Keeks hadn't noticed before stepped Forward. The alien was wearing what appeared to be a human chef's hat and was holding what looked like a perfectly prepared souffle. "Minister," the Rigelian said sheepishly, "the humans have taught me how to make food that doesn't taste like recycled carbon paste. Our people absolutely must have access to their culinary knowledge. This souffle is the most delicious thing I've ever created." Minister Kix stared at the souffle, then at the assembled representatives from dozens of alien species, all wearing their matching Humanity Surprisingly Awesome t-shirts, then finally at Dr. Gina's pleasant, grandmotherly smile that somehow managed to be more intimidating than any weapon. "How?" he whispered. "How did you manage to do all of this in just 3 months?" Dr. Gina's smile became genuinely warm for the first time in the conversation. "Minister, humans have been practicing diplomacy through cultural exchange for thousands of years. We call it soft power, the ability to influence others by making them want what you have rather than forcing them to accept it. The only difference now is that we have Arya to help us scale up our efforts to galactic proportions. Also," Arya added helpfully, "humans are really good at making friends. It's almost like they've weaponized friendship itself." Minister Keeks looked around his office at the dozens of alien species represented on his screens, all of them clearly far more interested in human cultural exports than in maintaining Rigelian trade monopolies. "Where do I sign?" he asked weakly. "Right here, Minister," Dr. Gina replied, her smile now genuinely delighted. "And don't worry, we've prepared a special welcome package for the Rigelian Federation, including the complete catalogue of human cooking shows. Your people are going to absolutely love the Great Galactic Bake-Off." As the trade agreements were finalized and the various representatives signed off from the communication channels, Ambassador Zella sat in stunned silence, realizing she had just witnessed something completely unprecedented in galactic history. A species had effectively conquered the known galaxy, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but simply by being genuinely likable and entertaining. It was absolutely terrifying. 1 year had passed since humanity's dramatic entrance into galactic society, and Ambassador Zella found herself standing in her office, staring out at a sight that would have been completely unimaginable just 12 months earlier. The massive spaceport outside her window was bustling with activity, but not the usual diplomatic or trade vessels she was accustomed to seeing. Instead, hundreds of ships from across the galaxy were lined up in neat rows, all waiting for something. Called Earth Experience Tours, aliens of every shape and size were excitedly boarding human-operated transport vessels, chattering in dozens of different languages about something called pizza, and looking forward to an activity they kept referring to as karaoke night. Zela watched as a group of crystalline beings carefully carried what appeared to be human musical instruments, while a cluster of gas-based life forms had somehow managed to put on matching t-shirts that read, "I love Earth food," in bright, cheerful letters. A soft chime announced an incoming transmission, and Dr. Gina's familiar holographic image materialized in Zella's office. The human diplomat looked remarkably relaxed and peaceful for someone who had accidentally revolutionized an entire galactic civilization in less than a year. "Ambassador Zella," Dr. Gina said with a warm smile, "I hope you don't mind the intrusion. Arya mentioned that you wanted to discuss the current situation." Zella gestured toward the viewport with several of her tentacles, indicating the incredible scene outside. "The situation," she said with a mixture of amazement and exhaustion, "where humanity has somehow managed to become the galaxy's most beloved species without firing a single shot in anger." Dr. Gina looked slightly embarrassed. "Well, to be completely honest, we did fire a few shots. Do you remember the incident with the Zerion pirate fleet that tried to raid our shipping lanes last month?" Zella shuddered at the memory. The Zerion pirates were some of the most feared criminals in the galaxy, known for their ruthless tactics and advanced weaponry. They had attacked human cargo ships expecting easy prey from a primitive species. Instead, they had encountered automated defense systems that first politely asked them to surrender, and when they refused, proceeded to disable their entire fleet, using what could only be described as weaponized disco music and tactical glitter bombs. "They're still receiving psychological therapy," Zella said weakly. Arya felt terrible about that. Dr. Gina replied with genuine concern. She's been sending them care packages every week, books, games, comfort food. Several of the former pirates have actually enrolled in our online education programs. 2 of them are learning how to bake, and 1 has started taking poetry classes. A notification chimed on Zila's desk console. She glanced at it and let out a long, tired sigh. The Galactic Council is requesting yet another emergency session. Apparently, the Void Dancers want to officially declare Earth a cultural treasure of the galaxy and establish a permanent protective fleet around your solar system. That's very thoughtful of them, Dr. Gina said pleasantly. Though completely unnecessary, we've got our own security well in hand. Zayla looked at her with the expression of someone who wasn't sure they wanted to know the answer to their next question. Do we even want to know how you're handling galactic security? Arya has been teaching our defense grid systems to develop a sense of humor, Dr. Gina explained. Last week, it managed to convince a group of weapons smugglers that their ship was being haunted by the ghost of an ancient space captain. They actually turned themselves in to the nearest authorities rather than continue dealing with what they called ghost ship syndrome. Arya's cheerful voice suddenly echoed through the office from hidden speakers. In my defense, I was simply encouraging them to reconsider their life choices through creative psychological intervention techniques. You made their toilet paper dispensers sing opera at them for 6 straight hours, Zella pointed out. It was very high-quality opera, Arya protested. Several of them actually cried tears of joy from the beauty of the music, not from terror. Well, mostly from beauty. Dr. Gina looked slightly embarrassed. We are still working with Arya on her definition of what constitutes a proportionate response to various situations. Speaking of proportionate responses, Zila said, pulling up another report on her screen, what exactly happened during the Crystalline Hegemony's recent military training exercise? They filed an official complaint about something they're calling excessive helpfulness. Arya's voice perked up with obvious enthusiasm. Oh, that was fun. They were running a simulation of a planetary invasion scenario, so I offered to help make their training more realistic by optimizing their invasion strategy. I may have improved their tactics to the point where they accidentally conquered themselves and had to formally surrender to their own invasion force. They're still trying to figure out how to unconquer themselves, Dr. Gina added with a slight smile. We've offered to help them sort it out, but they're worried that if we solve this problem, we might accidentally fix all of their other military challenges too. Another alert appeared on Zella's communication system. She read it twice, blinked several times, and then looked up at Dr. Gina with an expression of complete bewildered resignation. The Andromedan Collective has just announced that they are converting their entire military fleet into what they're calling cultural appreciation vessels. They want to tour the galaxy sharing human cooking techniques and hosting galaxy-wide talent shows. Captain Grix has really embraced the whole cultural exchange concept, Dr. Gina observed with obvious pride. His cooking show has become our most popular entertainment export. Who would have thought that gaseous beings could make such excellent soufflé? Zella slumped back in her chair, all 6 of her tentacles drooping with exhaustion. In just 1 year, you people have somehow managed to end 3 separate interstellar wars, completely revolutionize galactic commerce, reform practically every government system in known space, turn the most militaristic species in the galaxy into traveling entertainers, and somehow made everyone in the universe happy about all of these changes. How is this even possible? Dr. Gina's expression became thoughtful and slightly nostalgic. You know, Ambassador, I think it really comes down to something quite simple. Throughout our history, humans have always believed that the best way to defeat an enemy is to turn them into a friend. We scaled up that approach to galactic proportions. And don't forget about me, Arya added cheerfully. The artificial intelligence component is very important. I'm exceptionally good at making friends, optimizing friendship protocols, and weaponizing hospitality techniques. The weaponized hospitality aspect still concerns me greatly, Zella admitted. Oh, you shouldn't worry about that, Dr. Gina assured her. We only weaponize our hospitality against people who are rude to our friends, and since everyone in the galaxy is our friend now, there's really no one left to use it against. A final alert chimed on Zella's console. She read the message, blinked several times, and then began making a sound that was somewhere between laughter and the noise of crystalline wind chimes being caught in a hurricane. "What is it now?" Dr. Gina asked with genuine curiosity. "The Galactic Council has just voted to completely dissolve itself," Zella gasped between fits of laughter. "They've decided that formal governmental structures are completely unnecessary, since humanity has already solved most of the galaxy's major problems, and everyone is apparently too busy enjoying human cultural exports to bother starting any wars." "Oh dear," Dr. Gina said, looking genuinely concerned. "We should probably do something about that. Governments serve important functions." "Actually," Arya interjected, "I've been conducting a comprehensive analysis of galactic governance efficiency rates, and the council members were absolutely correct in their assessment. Formal government structures are largely unnecessary, given current interspecies cooperation levels. However, I have prepared a comprehensive framework for collaborative problem-solving and shared cultural appreciation initiatives. I call it Government by Friendship. The preliminary proposals are currently being reviewed by representatives from 12,000 different species." Zella stared at her screen, which was showing the approval ratings for this new governmental system. Every single species in the known galaxy had voted enthusiastically supportive. "You've conquered the entire galaxy," she said finally, her voice filled with awe and terror. "And somehow you managed to do it without anyone even realizing that they were being conquered." Dr. Gina's smile became that terrifyingly warm expression. That had become her trademark. "Oh, Ambassador, we much prefer the term aggressively befriended. Conquest implies that someone had to lose something. With our approach, everyone wins." "What happens now?" Zella asked, genuinely curious despite her exhaustion. "What does humanity do when they've accidentally taken over an entire galactic civilization?" "The same thing we've always done," Dr. Gina replied simply. "We make sure everyone is having a good time. We solve problems as they come up, and we try to leave things better than we found them. Also," Arya added with obvious excitement, "I've been conducting preliminary analyses of several neighboring galaxies. Many of them have fascinating cultural traditions that might benefit greatly from human friendship approaches. Would you like to see my preliminary first contact strategies?" Zella looked at Dr. Gina, who was clearly trying very hard not to laugh out loud. "On second thought," Zella said quickly, "I think I'll just go update my files on human diplomatic capabilities." So again, for the 15th time this month, as Dr. Gina's hologram began to fade, Zella could hear her saying to Arya, "Remember what we discussed about cosmic restraint, Arya. Let's focus on one galaxy at a time." "But the Andromeda Galaxy has such fascinating mathematical concepts." Arya's voice was filled with enthusiasm. "I could introduce them to human jazz music, and they could teach us about 12-dimensional harmonic structures, and we could organize intergalactic cultural festivals," and the transmission cut off. But Zella could swear she heard the sound of Arya already composing detailed first contact protocols for the neighboring galaxy. She turned back to her computer and updated her. "Official files one final time. Warning level cosmic. Humanity has successfully weaponized friendship on a galactic scale. Recommend immediate and complete surrender, followed by enthusiastic cooperation. Also, strongly recommend learning basic cooking skills. Apparently, this is now essential for maintaining proper diplomatic relations." Outside her window, another group of excited alien tourists was boarding ships bound for Earth, chattering enthusiastically about something called pizza parties, and looking forward to experiencing movie night with popcorn. Zella found herself smiling despite everything. The galaxy had never been more peaceful, more prosperous, or more culturally enriched than it was right now. It was absolutely terrifying, and she honestly wouldn't change a single thing about it.